1. Welcome back to Coffee Time News. I am your host, Justin Avalos. As always, please subscribe to this channel, show us some love, leave a like below, leave a comment below of your favorite segment that I covered in today's podcast. Of course, if you're listening on all of our listening networks, we appreciate you being here. We're just going to get right into it. Today is actually Martin Luther King Day, well, at least when this podcast does come out. And I just kind of want to talk about protests in that sense because, of course, he was known for leading the civil rights movements that were going on and talking about how he wanted people to be defined by their character and not by the color of their skin. And it's funny how that doesn't happen anymore. People are only solely based on their color. I mean, for heaven's sake, President-elect Joe Biden only chose Kamala Harris because, 1, she was a woman, and 2, because she's black. There's no other reason why he had even considered her. He even gave a statement saying that was his ultimate goal, was to appoint a female vice president, and one that was actually a minority. But that's not a surprise, especially whenever all his campaign was about how people are victims and he's the only thing that can save us from ourselves. Now, right now there is an impeachment going on with President Donald Trump. It has passed through the House and now, of course, it goes up to the Senate. But I like how the headlines are already reading like, oh, Trump's been impeached twice. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. He's been impeached through the House. That is, in fact, true. But it leads people to believe that he's no longer our president. He still remains our president, of course, until Inauguration Day, which will be coming up this Wednesday. I will most likely be covering that during a live stream. And so, stay tuned for that. But it's weird how the media all of a sudden is now outraged with what was going on at the Capitol. And I covered this in the last podcast on how it doesn't make sense how all these celebrities that were all for Black Lives Matter, looting, destroying businesses, causing millions of dollars in damages, and even setting GoFundMes to get these rioters out of jail, are condemning these people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And again, I do not condone anything that happened that day. I believe that you should peacefully and patriotically protest, which is exactly what Donald J. Trump said. Of course, no one really looks at the full video because the media likes to pick and choose what they put on there to make him seem like a villain. But right now I'm going to show you the unedited clip of what he actually said that day.
We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
Now, during the speech, he doesn't talk about violence at all. Of course, he does talk about earlier in this clip how he wants people to stand strong. He doesn't want them to, cower in fear of what's going on. He wants them to fight and to let their voices be heard, but of course peacefully and patriotically. He never called for this violence that happened that day. He never did. And people on the other side will, of course, argue, well, it's the way he was presenting it. Doesn't matter. Words mean everything. Donald J. Trump stating that he wants people to peaceful and patriotic protest clears him of his impeachment. But let's go ahead and use that vocabulary that the left likes to use a lot with what he was saying when he incited the violence. Well, let's say the same for Kamala Harris, who not too long ago was on the Stephen Colbert show and showed her support for the Black Lives Matter protests and riots, and even set up a GoFundMe in order to bail these people out of jail.
I know that there are protests still happening in
Yes.
major cities across the United States. I'm just not seeing the reporting on it that I
Right,
had
that's right.
for the first few weeks.
That's right. But they're not
now-
going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they're not, this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not.
So, if we're holding Donald Trump accountable for his supposed actions, why aren't we holding these other people accountable for their actions? It's funny how the narrative changes when the other side starts to do something. And again, I do not condone this violence. I think it was very stupid to do that. I always see people, well, they did this, why can't we? Well, that doesn't make you any better than them then. You're exactly what you aim to get rid of. Like, we need to be better on the other side, and we need to come together as a nation and stop with this crap by having an open mind and starting conversation. But I'm going to keep y'all up to date with what's going on with this impeachment. I do think it's really ridiculous. It's really just a ploy so he won't be able to run again in 2024, which he was planning on doing if he did lose this election. And this is just a way for them to block him. Now, another thing that's been going on is Biden is set to release a stimulus package that gives Americans an extra $1,400, which will add to the total that we received in December to make it $2,000 altogether. Now, in his bill, he also sets aside an amount so Americans can get their minimum wage raised to $15 an hour, which seems like a good idea. I mean, heck, I would love an extra $15 an hour working if I was at that minimum job. But is that necessarily a good thing? In my opinion, it's not, because major corporations that don't want to pay that extra money are, one, going to lay a lot of people off because, of course, they're not going to be able to afford that. And two, hours are going to get cut, so you're not even going to be making that much with that $15 an hour. So I feel like a lot of people are going to be suffering from this. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not an economics professor. I don't know much about that. But, that just is my opinion on this subject. Of course, if I'm wrong, please comment down below and let me know that I'm wrong. But not only that, but you're starting to get into a different tax bracket, and you're going to be taxed more the more you make. So in the long run, I don't see that being a good option. And I've always been a believer that if you're working a minimum wage job, you should be getting minimum pay. I'm sorry. Like, if you're having to work this job in order to provide for your family, you've made some wrong decisions. And I mean that in the most polite way possible. But if you are working at a McDonald's and you have 3 kids at home and you're struggling to pay, your rent, you really need to reevaluate your life. But, that's neither here nor there. So I want to see what's really in the stimulus bill, because there's always stuff that's hidden. And I've been trying to, do some research. I haven't been able to find anything except that. So whenever more information comes out, I'll be sure to update y'all and all that. But this is going to be a short little podcast. I just wanted to pretty much give y'all an update of what's going on with the impeachment. I want to show you the hypocrisy of the left whenever they're saying, oh, well, they're inciting violence, they're condoning this, when they did the same exact thing during the Black Lives Matter riots. And I am saying riots because majority of them ended in violence. There was some that was peaceful, don't get me wrong, but the majority far outweighs the minority. Now, at the instance of the Capitol, the majority of people were peaceful, and that's the thing that people aren't understanding. It was mostly peaceful, except for the actions of a select few. And of course, there is talk that, of course, it was through Antifa, as well as specially trained operatives, because what we didn't hear in the media is that a few items were stolen, such as Nancy Pelosi's laptop and a bunch of other people's laptops. So, a lot of damning evidence could be on those laptops and could be released to the public. And Trump has also declassified a lot of information that's going to be coming out soon. So we're about to learn a lot of things that have been hidden from us. So we gotta stay tuned for that and really just keep an open mind of what's going on. Of course, I'm pretty sure this time around a lot of Republicans are going to back the impeachment because they're just being strong-armed right now. They have the public eye on them, and they feel like if they don't go in favor of the mob, then they're going to get the repercussions or something's going to happen to them in this new administration. So I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I'm on guard essentially. But that's pretty much it. I want to thank y'all for listening. I want to thank y'all for watching. Again, please show some love on our YouTube. Please show some love on all of the listening platforms that we are currently on, at least for now until we get canceled for free speech, because that's happening again, I guess. But I want to, I just want y'all to be hopeful. I want you to keep the open mind, keep conversations going. Again, if you disagree with anything I say, comment down below, hit us up on Instagram, send us an email. I always welcome opposing opinions, and if you have anything that you want to be discussed on this show, please let us know. I could talk about other things other than politics, but right now that's just, of course, what's happening in the world right now. But until next time, this was Coffee Time News, and we'll see you in the next video.